Welcome to Hope with Jonathan. I'm Jonathan Traylor, kidney transplant recipient. Based on my near-death experience with kidney failure, we now spotlight kidney patients' story, giving them a platform to express their personal journey with battling kidney disease, kidney failure, dialysis, waiting for kidney transplant, and much more. We share stories of hope right here on the Hope with Jonathan podcast. Hope with Jonathan podcast is a Hope Media production. Never let hope become a memory. Hope with Jonathan podcast is a Hope Media production. Hey guys, welcome to Season 5 of Hope with Jonathan podcast. It is so good to be back. And I hope you guys are ready for this podcast. I hope you guys are excited as I am to be back into podcasting. This is going to be my introductory podcast announcing that Hope with Jonathan will be back in 24 with guests. And we will be having live broadcast where you'll be able to watch the live broadcast live on YouTube, and then we will turn around and turn them into audio podcasts for your listening experience. And I am so excited to be back. I have so many ideas and so many things that are just cooking right now for Hope with Jonathan podcast. But guys, listen, enough about that. I hope you guys are doing well. For those of you out there that do not know who I am, I'm Jonathan Traylor. I'm a kidney transplant recipient, and it's just hard to believe that I am now a 3.5-year post-kidney transplant recipient. It's been an incredible ride. It's really blessed and really grateful individual. God allowed me to receive a kidney by way of direct donation. And my story is, all over the internet as far as what happened to me in 2019, where I crashed into kidney failure and just had moments to live, survived that near-death experience, and started to advocate for other people and other patients who had been battling chronic kidney disease and kidney failure. And I wanted to give back. I wanted to get involved. And advocacy was a way for me to do that. So I joined nonprofit organizations and different organizations that were involved in the kidney community. And I'm an ambassador for many different organizations that I've done work with, raised funds with, and awareness for CKD and the rights of kidney patients. So I've actually been to Washington, D.C. last year, and got to actually march on Capitol Hill for the rights on behalf of kidney patients, which was incredible. And it's always a pleasure to be able to advocate for chronic kidney disease patients. Listen, guys, today I wanted to tell you guys how excited I am about coming back with doing live shows and live interviews. With that being said, I've had many of you reach out to me wanting to be on the show, and I've had many of you that email me or message me in some form or fashion that you wanted to be on the show. So we're going to be getting in touch with a lot of you that have been out there that want to interview, share your incredible story. We're also going to be mixing it up a little bit as well as far as not just focusing on the chronic kidney disease world, but we're going to be also talking with other patients and other people who have survived incredible odds, overcome great adversities, great challenges. Hope is a broad word. I mean, it's a broad subject, and so hope could be anything, literally. And so we want to mix up our podcast a little bit and try to bring some fresh eyes on what we're doing with Hope with Jonathan. We want the same support from our listeners and everyone that enjoys Hope with Jonathan, but we also want to bring it to fresh eyes, because if you're not growing, then what are we doing? And then we want to bring awareness to as many people as we can, and the only way to do that is introduce the podcast to new genres, new categories, new people, and so that's what we want to try to focus on. But with that being said, guys, listen, this is the introductory podcast on Season 5, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the subject of a glimmer of hope, okay? Glimmer of hope. And so my text today, as far as where I'm bringing this from, is even in the darkest of days, if you look closely, there's a glimmer of light. And guys, listen, that's hope. And so many of you, under the sound of my voice, are going through a trial, tribulation. You're going through maybe a traumatic event. You're going through a hard time. You're going through a struggle, whether it be physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You're going through a harsh period that no one else understands but you. And you seem like you're all alone. You seem like that no one else cares. You've talked to family members. Family members are not getting it. You've talked to your friends. Your friends have abandoned you. You feel all alone. I want to tell you that there is hope for you, and I've been where you've been at. Listen, when I first went through kidney failure, started talking to family members and trying to explain dialysis and trying to explain what happened to me, trying to talk to them and about medical terminology and things about chronic kidney disease. I would get the long stare, and sometimes people would you could tell they were rolling their eyes, or there was no connection. And so for me, I had to basically, find other outlets. And not all of my family was like that. I mean, my immediate family, my wife, my children, my mother, my stepfather, different ones, my grandparents, they were incredibly supportive. But just people in general, that I would try to explain what was going on. I mean, I had one person actually ask me about how do I catch dialysis, and I laugh about that now, but really looking back, I mean, that just shows you how well educated some people are. I mean, they're not educated on chronic kidney disease much at all. And so it was important to me to educate as many people as I could about chronic kidney disease. And so there was many times that while I was going through kidney failure on dialysis, I felt like I was alone. Sometimes I felt like I was in a dark place. Literally, my life felt like a movie, only it was a horror show. I was living, treatment to treatment, going in the in-center. I was one of the youngest patients in my center at the time. Everyone else was in there that was blue hair or no hair. And so, they had all given up. I mean, the morale in my in-center DaVita was incredibly low, and all those people were defeated, and they had allowed defeat to consume them. And so it was at a point that I literally had to encourage myself daily and continue to fight. And long story short, guys, listen, I only did dialysis for 13 months, which is relatively a short amount of time. I mean, many patients out there have had it way worse than me, or have survived on dialysis way longer than I did. But 13 months was, the number that God chose. I had no control when the kidney came, but thanks be to God, it came when it did, because 13 months was long enough for me to understand that this was not a life that I wanted to continue to live on a machine. I was glad and thankful and grateful that I was, going to get a kidney. Now, you have to also realize that, kidney transplant is just a form of treatment. It's not a cure. And you don't realize all that until you finally have a kidney transplant. And then you realize later on that, the kidney transplant is awesome. And it's a gift and it's a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, you also have to realize that at some point you have to think about it and realize the kidney transplant is a treatment for kidney failure. And so, very grateful to have that kidney transplant. But a lot of patients who are on dialysis are thinking that I'm going to get a kidney one day, and man, life is going to be amazing. It's going to go back completely to normal, and I'll never have any problems with kidney disease again. No, that's not how it works. And it takes you to end up becoming a kidney transplant recipient before you ever understand the full meaning of that kidney transplantation is a form of treatment, because chronic kidney disease never goes away. There's no cure for chronic kidney disease. And then if you're battling other ailments such as, or other conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes, those conditions still have to be managed. So you have to, you're still a warrior, and you're still dealing with things. And it's all about mindset. It comes down to mindset, and you have to adjust, and you always are ever evolving and ever changing and rolling with the punches, so to speak. And so you have to adapt quickly. You have to be willing to change, and you have to be willing to adapt and learn quickly. At least I did. And maybe that's, part of my story. But ultimately, with me and chronic kidney disease and kidney failure, I had to adapt quickly because of where I was at. I was laying on a hospital bed that literally I had no education, no former education on anything. I wasn't even going to the doctor to even have any kind of understanding of what kidney disease was. Matter of fact, I had many different precursors that probably should have been a light bulb moment for me, but because of the lack of education and because of this, my situation, I didn't have any knowledge of what I was actually facing or going through until I was flat on my back and with a near-death experience of kidney failure. It's an incredible disease, CKD, and it's ever-changing, it's life-changing. And so I know where you're at right now. I know where people are at that may come across this podcast. It can cause great depression. It can cause you to feel like that you're never going to come out of the end of this tunnel. You feel like you're suppressed, you're oppressed. You're sitting in a chair. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're sitting 4 hours a day, and you have thoughts in your head while you're sitting in that chair that you forgot about 10 years ago. It's a disease that only people that go through it can truly understand, and people that see us out and think that, you don't look sick or you don't look that bad, like you look like you're doing okay. They have no clue that really you're just barely hanging on for treatment to treatment, especially when you're in center. In center for me I felt more like a Band-Aid than anything. And so HHD, I was a home hemodialysis patient for about 4 months before I got direct donated to. And HHD changed my life, changed the course of how dialysis was for me. I was able to control my own schedule. I was able to do dialysis on my own terms, and it changed a lot. And then, of course, I went after we learned everything. My wife was my caretaker, my care partner, and she was incredible. She learned so much. She learned, how to stick me. We learned all the proper procedures and setup, and the cleanliness, the boxes, the organization that it takes. It takes focus. It takes organization. And but we got the call, and I was direct donated to. And so it's everybody that's ever heard more podcasts and more of my live shows would hear more about what happened with me as far as my kidney transplant and my story. There's an actual backstory and a long story about my donor and my donor family. So because I actually knew my donor family, and I actually knew my donor, and it's a bittersweet situation for me whenever it comes time to celebrate another anniversary, because the family, and I know the family, and I know them well. They're always mourning every year, and so while I'm celebrating another year, the family is in mourning. And because we were so close, and I knew the family, and they know my family as well, it's bittersweet for me. But the kidney has been amazing. This kidney works better than my native kidneys ever worked. And I have been just doing really well, just thriving, if you will. I mean, I'm back to work. I'm doing things. I've moved a couple of times. I'm doing things now that I could never do on in-center dialysis. I just never had the strength. I was always tired on in-center dialysis. Home hemo, I think if I would have had to move, I think I could have done it. But with transplant, I've definitely been able to do it. And it's been incredible, guys. Literally. I'm not tooting my own horn. This is not a flex. I'm ever grateful and thankful for my donor and donor family. They have changed my life. There's no words. I mean, just monumental, overwhelming change. And so, but those of you that are out there that may come across this podcast and you're looking for encouragement, I want you to know that I was that patient that was sitting in the chair at one point. And I was a patient that had thoughts in their head like, am I going to make it? Am I going to be a statistic? Am I going to survive this? And I faced many dark moments, many dark times. And I had to be able to start looking for the glimmer of light. And I had to start looking for the glimmer of hope. And, as things progressed and my health started to improve some on dialysis, I began to feel a little bit better. And I wasn't near 100%, but I was way better than what I was whenever I had crashed into kidney failure. And as I progressed, I could feel myself getting a little better. And then they started talking about, let's get him on the transplant list. And that was more of a glimmer of light and glimmer of hope. But then I started to get mundane with the routine of going in center, especially on the weekends, on Saturdays. I lost my Saturdays by having to go in center. So I wanted to switch. I knew something had to change. Something had to change quickly because the routine of going in center and the morale of the other patients, and as positive as I was trying to be, it was tough. And my center was there was odors in there, and it was really bad. There was moments that the other patients were just they had other health issues, other ailments, other situations, And it was hard to come in behind some of those patients because of the situation. And I was cool with a lot of patients in there. There was a bunch of them in there that I would see a lot and talk to and try to encourage them. But, you could tell that when you looked into their eyes, there was no glimmer of hope. There was no glimmer of light. And I wanted to hang on to a glimmer of light and glimmer of hope as much as I could. And so what I did every day, and listen, I can only share my story. I can only tell you guys my situation, my story. That doesn't mean that this is everyone's story. This is my story. I began to speak over my life and over my body. And it was, I was going to be determined to beat this. And I was not going to become like one of those other patients in my center that was bitter and giving in to kidney disease and just giving up. And I began to speak over my life every day. And I'm a believer. I am a believer. I believe in the good Lord Jesus. I am a believer. And if I lose friends and followers over that, so be it. I don't care. I am a believer. I'm a believer in faith. I'm a believer in prayer. And I believe that God answers prayer. And so I begin to pray. I begin to have hope. I begin to believe. And I begin to have faith that things were going to change for me. And every day that I went in center, every day that I went in for treatment, I would speak over my body and speak over my life. And I would say, God, I know that the kidney is coming. And I would begin to say things like, God, I know that kidney's coming. I know it's coming. I believe it's coming. And I know it. And I would speak that over my life because, listen, I've been in the chair, I've been sitting there, and literally I would have thoughts that would come over me that would be so overwhelming at times that I literally thought I was dying. And, you call them what they want, voices or just hearing things in your head, words that would just come through your head, thoughts of death, like, you're not going to make this, you're not going to survive this. Now some people would say, well, that's the voice of the devil, or that's the voice of, of something evil. Well, not necessarily, but I mean, it could be. It's whatever you want to believe it is. But, my only way to deal with that was to pray and tell God, and I would literally say it just like this. I would say, God, I know you have a kidney for me, and you haven't brought me this far to leave me. And that was how I survived a lot of terrible treatments, was through the power of prayer and believing in the glimmer of light and a glimmer of hope. And like I said, as things progressed for me, as things begin to move, I began to see more and more of a glimmer, more and more. And the glimmer of light became a bright light. And, my story, like I said, is not everyone's story. In 2022, I'm telling you, we lost more amazing patients and more warriors than any year. I've been around chronic kidney disease now since 2019. And I consider myself to be a part of the community longer because I was going through kidney bladder problems even when I was younger. And so, but as far as kidney failure, dialysis, things like that, those things didn't happen to me later on. But the thing is that we lost some amazing people in 22, and they didn't get the opportunities to have a situation and a story like mine, surviving, chronic kidney disease and kidney failure, and surviving with a transplant. So, it was not always an easy situation. And it wasn't easy for me to watch, those patients, this year or in 22 pass away. Definitely tough. And, it seemed like there was week after week, and as you know, I did a podcast about Phil, and I still think about Phil, and Phil's incredible, and he still lives in my heart, and I miss and think about him on the daily. I was thinking about him the other day. I was like, man, it would be so amazing to be able to call and talk to Phil. Phil from A Second Chance, and he did so much in such a little time for chronic kidney disease, and he had a passion like no other. I mean, I thought I had a fire for wanting to share awareness and spread awareness for other patients. Philip had a fire in him like no other. It was unmatched. But listen, guys, I want you guys that are listening to this, I want to encourage you today. And I know I went on and on about my story, but I know you guys out there that are really struggling. You've been hanging on for a long time, waiting for your kidney transplant. You have been hoping and praying and believing. I really feel like that I want to encourage someone out there under the sound of my voice, someone that's listening to this podcast. I want to encourage you that to not give up on the glimmer of hope and the glimmer of light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for you. And I want you to continue to believe. I want you to believe like you've never believed before. In 2024, I want you to continue to share your story. I want you to continue to advocate for yourself like you've never done it before. Everything that you can do to help yourself, to help advance yourself. Listen, never give up on the thought that something great and amazing can happen for you. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care what you've done. You are worthy of this, and your opportunity is coming soon. I just want to speak that over someone's life today, that your opportunity, your blessing, your breakthrough is coming soon. And I want you to continue to believe that it's coming for you. Well, listen, guys, God bless you guys. In 24, I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast. This is going to be a quick one. Look for our brand new shows coming soon. They are going to be incredible. I'm going to get some guests that are going to have an amazing story. It's not going to be just me blabbering behind the microphone and talking. I'm a talker. You just have to kind of excuse me and tell me to shut up and move on. But this year we're going to have some incredible guests, that are going to share their amazing warrior story. And we're going to have some hope warriors on who are in need of a kidney. And I can't wait for you guys to get behind us. If you're not already following us on YouTube, listen, guys, you can follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. Subscribe does not mean that you have to pay. It's completely free. Go over there and click subscribe. Hit that bell. You'll be notified of all of our brand new content. Also, check us out over on TikTok. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find out all that information at hopewithjonathan.com. We also have some merch over there as well. We have live podcasts over there you can listen to, live videos that you can watch, some interesting information over there, some blogs, things like that at hopewithjonathan.com. Listen, this podcast also is sponsored by my company, Fleets of Texas. Fleets of Texas is a delivery service here in the hill country of Texas. Small business, large orders, small orders, food, medical supplies, Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, it doesn't matter. We'll come and pick up your item and have it delivered to you. Well, listen, guys, God bless you guys. Y'all take care. God bless. This is Jonathan. Hey guys, have you been over to hopewithjonathan.com? You can actually listen to the audio podcast, watch live streaming interviews, purchase merch to help support Hope with Jonathan podcast, read blogs, and much, much more. For more information on this, go check out hopewithjonathan.com, where we share stories of hope.